Hello and welcome to week 3 of my end of year business review. This week we are talking all about finances. If you've been following this series with me, in week 1 we talked about how you can reflect and review the past 12 months in your practice, and in week 2 we talked all about systems. So now we are turning our attention to finances and money, which I think is one of the most important things to talk about when we talk about business. Yet it does seem to be one of the areas that most therapists I work with and talk to are the least confident in. So let's break down some of the areas in private practice when it comes to finances. First of all, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Kim. I help therapists in private practice get online, get confident with admin and reduce tech overwhelm. So let's get stuck in with regards to finances. And the first thing I want to talk about is invoicing. Now, I have loads of resources when it comes to invoicing. I have a free download, which I'll link in the description below. And I also have a video all about invoicing in private practice. So I will link to that as well, as that will go much more in depth into the ways you can invoice and how you can do manual invoicing with a template that I've created. Just as a general overview when it comes to invoicing, I would say that it is really important to actually send your clients an invoice. A lot of therapists that I start working with don't do this, and they just ask their clients to pay before the session. But what I have noticed when working with these therapists and looking at their backdated banking and payments and things like that, that actually there are a lot of payments that are missing. So you expect your clients to pay, you assume they have, but actually some payments have been lost. So doing it this way can actually mean that you're not getting as much money into your practice as you are expecting. If you are doing a manual invoicing process, what I would actually recommend is invoicing on a monthly basis rather than on a session by session basis. So you could either do this in advance or retrospectively. That's totally up to you, depending on how you run your practice. If you have regular clients that you see at the same time each week, then invoicing in advance can be really easy for you because you know exactly how many sessions those clients are going to have. Whereas if you work on a more ad hoc basis, maybe you want to invoice at the end of the month for all of the sessions that have been had that month. Doing it that way can make it really easy for clients because they're just doing one payment a month rather than having to remember to do it each week. And I do think you'll find that you have less missed payments this way. If you do want to invoice weekly, what I would suggest is using a system such as Stripe or PayPal or the Starling Business Toolkit if you use that bank. There are many others, but I would actually send them a link from one of these payment systems so that they can click on the link and make the payment with a card, and you will get a notification that it's been paid, and it will also be really easy to see which ones haven't been paid as well. So like I said, I'm not going to go into invoicing too much in this video. If you'd like to know more about invoicing in private practice, check the description below and I'll leave a link to all of my resources. The second thing I want to talk about is looking at your bank account right now and seeing how much is in the account. Do you know whether that amount is good or bad? Do you know if you've got enough to cover your expenses for the next month, and also how much you're going to be able to take as a salary? This does link quite heavily with invoicing, because you really want to understand what is going to be coming into your account and when. If you just expect clients to pay on a week by week basis, but you are not checking this regularly, it will be really hard for you to know whether what's in your bank account is what should be in your bank account. This also leads into expenses. Do you know what your regular expenses are? Do you know how much you spend on them each month or each year? And do you know when the payments are going to come out of your account so that you can manage your cash flow effectively? The best way to know the health of your business is to do monthly bookkeeping. I know a lot of people in business, not just in private practice, who wait to the end of the year to have a look at their finances and work out how much tax they're going to owe. But I think it's really important to do this on a monthly basis. Again, I do have a video all about bookkeeping as a sole trader, and I do have a bookkeeping template which you can buy to make this really easy for you to manage on a month by month basis. It comes with a video tutorial which shows you exactly how to do your bookkeeping each month. I think this is a really good place to start, especially as tax will be going digital in the next couple of years, so you will have to start using a system such as Xero or QuickBooks so that you can do your self-assessment. So I think it's really good in the next couple of years to get into the habit of doing that semi-digitally with an Excel spreadsheet and looking at your bank account each month. I know this can be quite daunting to look at your finances, but I really think you'll be in a much better position to make decisions on what your fees should be and things like that if you actually know the financial health of your private practice. Knowing what expenses you're paying out each month as well can really help you make decisions on your practice. So for example, maybe you're spending a really high amount on room rent, and maybe you can decide, actually this is not going to work for me, I'm just going to work online. Or maybe you're currently solely working online and you'd really like to go back to a face-to-face practice once or twice a week, but you're not quite sure if you can afford to do that. Doing your bookkeeping and looking at your finances can really help you make that decision. Knowing what's in your bank account and whether that's a good amount of money can also help you make decisions on things like additional training, CPD, whether you can get help next year, for example, from a virtual assistant or somebody to design your website. And this is why understanding what money is in your practice is really important. The next thing to think about at the end of the year / the beginning of the year is your self-assessment. If you haven't already done your 21-22 self-assessment and you are a sole trader, the deadline for that is the 31st of January. And if you haven't been doing these steps already, it will also mean you'll have to work out what you have received into your practice as revenue, what you have spent money on as expenses, so that you can work out the profit in your business and therefore how much tax you're going to owe. If this is the first time that you have done your self-assessment, you will also need to make sure that you're registered, you've got all of your ID numbers and things like that so you can log on. And again, I'll leave a link in the description for some information all about self-assessment. Doing your bookkeeping on a monthly basis can also make this whole process of self-assessment a lot less daunting, as there won't be as much work to do at the end or beginning of the year for you to do your self-assessment filing. One thing I didn't talk about at the beginning of this video, which actually I should have because it's super important, is to make sure that you just have one bank account for your private practice. So all of your revenue should come into one bank account, and all of your expenses related to your private practice should come out of the same bank account. You shouldn't be using your own personal bank account to receive money or pay for things, because that can make bookkeeping, accounts, self-assessment really difficult, and you're just making your life harder if you do this. So my number one tip for next year, if you don't already, is open a separate bank account and move everything to that bank account. Any money that comes in and any money that goes out. I promise this will make your life so much easier. All you do with your own salary is move that money into a personal bank account so that you can use that to pay your bills, do your shopping, whatever else you need to do, and nothing gets confused. Once you've done these steps and you understand the health of your practice, you can then make decisions on things such as your fees that I've talked about previously, training and things like that. So understanding the financial health of your practice is super important and something that you shouldn't shy away from, hide from, put in the hands of somebody else. You need to take control of your finances. If numbers are not your strong point, this is something I would definitely look to outsource because it's so important. You don't necessarily need to get a full-on accountant, especially if you're a sole trader. You can just look for a bookkeeper and they won't charge you very much just to do your books each month. If this is an area you struggle in, this would be a really key area to get some help with. Okay, so I hope you found this video useful. Hopefully it's not too daunting. If you haven't seen my other videos in this series, check out them as well. And also I've linked so many resources in the description, so please check all that out. Thanks so much for watching. See you next time.